Welcome to the hub of analytics education, preparing students for the future, millions of records at a time. The hub of analytics education is located in Boston, Massachusetts.
My name is Charlie Bay Maldred, one of the co-founders of the hub of analytics education. The objective for today's video is summarizing a data table or classifying a data table. The business intelligence tool that we're going to be using today is ACL. ACL is predominantly used by internal and external auditors as well as risk management professionals. You'll also need the sales data table from the hub of analytics education. Once you have your license and the data table, let's get started. All right, here we are back in ACL. And this is around where we left off the last time. I've gotten rid of the December sales sorted file that we talked about in our last video, sorting, indexing, and filtering. We still have our December sales file, and we still have our two indexes that we created. We can see them up here. This one's the inventory ID index, and we've also got the sales dollars index. So we have both of those indexes in the file. I'm going to go back to inventory ID. What we're going to do today is we are going to go through the process of classifying and summarizing. Now, classifying and summarizing are similar methods of grouping data, but they have different options and process data in very different ways. You can classify or summarize sorted or unsorted tables. We are going to classify and summarize sorted tables or index tables in this particular case. And you must summarize. So if you want it, so the big difference between classification and summarization, you have to summarize versus classify if you want to do any of the following things. If you want to work with a date time key field, so if you want to do anything with sales date, you have to summarize. If you want to use multiple fields to summarize or to bring the data down, you have to use summarization versus classification. All right, so those are two big reasons why you need to use summarization versus classification. So we're going to start with a classification. We're going to classify on inventory ID. So classifying groups, the records in the table must be based on identical key field values. And what it does is it counts the number of records of each group, right? And these key fields can be character or numeric. And again, we're going to be going with character field here, the inventory ID. So let's go through and see if we can do this. So we want to select Analyze. I want to scroll down here to Classify. And now we have our Main tab. So on the Main tab, you can do one of the following things, right? You can either select the field to classify on, right? So you can just figure out which field you want to classify on, or you can hit classify on and then select the field you want to do. Just very similar. So we don't want brand. What we want is inventory ID. So you can see in classify on, we've got inventory ID. All right. If you wanted to change this, say you wanted to classify on brand, you can just switch it out for brand. Right. We want inventory ID. Great. The next thing we want to do is figure out what subtotals we want to get, right? So I think we want to get subtotals on quantity and probably simply sales dollars. So let's put in sales dollars and sales quantity because we want both of those. If we want to also create an expression, we could also do that. But we don't want to do that. We just want to get sales dollars and sales quantity. Let's hit OK. Now we want to figure out, now you can also include statistics for the subtotal field if you want. I'm not going to do that. And again, you can also make this conditional. Let's go to the output. You can either put it to the screen or you can save it to a file. I recommend, in this case, saving it to the file in case you want to do any more work with your classified output. So we're going to call this classified December sales by ID. I just want to make sure that I can instantly figure out what it is I'm looking at as far as the table is concerned just based on the description. Let's hit OK. Now this is going to take a while. We'll get back to you as soon as it's done. And now we're back. And here you have a classified table. So for each inventory ID, it tells me how many times it shows up. So that's the count, how many observations exist. The percentage of the count, these are not going to be very large. The percentage of the field, not that interested. And this is what I'm interested in. What's the total sales dollars by inventory ID, and what's the sales quantity? How many bottles did I sell for each one of these individual IDs? Now from here I really can't do much more because I was only able to bring in sales dollars and sales quantity. So what happens if I had brought this down to inventory ID and then later wanted to maybe classify by store at the same time? So classification is pretty limiting in what you can do with it. Well, let's try summarization. Now you can summarize data by grouping the records in a table based on identical values or identical combinations of values. So now you can use more than one variable. And you can do it across character, numeric, and date time fields. You can optionally subtotal associated numeric fields, just like we did here. And you can also perform statistical calculations on any subtotal field that you specify. Now, let's see if we can go through the process of summarizing. So let's go back to December sales, and let's go to Analyze, and then Summarize. We're going to click on Summarize On, or we can just select Inventory ID. Either way works. As you can see, Inventory ID is here. Now, whereas classification, it wouldn't let you put in another field, here you could if you wanted to. For this example, we're just going to summarize by inventory ID so we can do a comparison between our classified December sales by ID and our summarized December sales by ID. Let's hit OK here. We want to get our same subtotal fields, so let's do that. Sales quantity and sales dollars. And hit OK. But this is the neat thing I liked about summarization. What if I wanted other fields to go with it? I wanted brand. Maybe I want classification or description. And maybe I want store. And maybe I want classification as well. So I can get some more, I can create a whole nother data table, but a shrunken down data table. Versus 12 million, I can bring a lot of the same information into a new table. And then I might be able to summarize based on a different variable here. We're just going to go with these 4 variables along with summarization of sales quantity and sales dollars, just to show you the difference. Now you can also click on these particular items if you want these statistics. And I don't want to add to the data table at this point in time, but that option's there. This is very, very important. Now, remember, I already have everything sorted. Well, I don't right now because guess what? The index is off. So I'm going to probably have to change that before we move forward. But I don't want this to pre-sort because it's going to take time. But because I haven't got the index on related to inventory ID, I'm going to have to cancel out of this, put the index back on, and then start my selections for summarization. Remember, we're going to summarize on inventory ID. Our subtotal fields are quantity and dollars. And I want my other fields to be brand, description, store number, and classification. Now, I'm going to take that pre-sort off because I've already done it. I already spent the time by creating that index. If I didn't have that index built in, I would have to hit pre-sort because it will have to pre-sort it first and then summarize it. Now what's going to happen is It's just going to go right away and start summarizing, and it makes it go much, much faster. I'm still not going to click any of these on because I don't care. Output, we're going to put it to a ACL table. So this is summarized December sales by ID. We're going to hit OK. It's going to take a few seconds. As soon as we're back, as soon as we're done, we'll come back to you. And in about 20 or 30 seconds, I've gone and I've taken everything and I've summarized it down. So now I've got inventory ID, sales quantity, sales dollars, and the same count. But now I have brand, description, store, and the classification. From here, I could potentially put in an index or index this particular table based on sales dollars to see which one of these subtotals of inventory ID is the biggest one for the entire year. So we don't have an index right now on this particular table, but let's use our work on indexing and create that index for this particular table. Here we're going to index on sales dollars, and we're going to index that to sales dollars on the summarized table. Sales dollars summarized. Okay? Hit OK. And just like that, that's actually pretty quick. Now, this was ascending order. Let me go back into this particular, we're going to go here, we're going to right click on, go to properties. I want to look at that index, right? And I want to get the details. See, I did it in ascending order. So let's fix that. Let's go back to index. We're going to bring this up, sales dollars, and index it going down. We're going to call it the same thing, sales dollars summarized. I think that's what we called it here. I think that's it. Hit OK. Can't overwrite the existing index. So let's delete that index because we don't need it. Index, delete, and then create the new index. Index on, sales dollars, descending order, sales dollars, summarized. Okay, looks good. And just like that, we've summarized that. Now you can see that takes a lot, it's really a short way of indexing versus when we had the 12 million records, that took about 45 seconds. That's almost instantaneous to put those indexes in there. And you can see that our most expensive or our biggest sales is this Jack Daniel's No. 7 Black. And it's in store 50. They sold a total in the entire year of 8,754 bottles for total sales of 312,513. So we've gone through and we've done some classification, we've done some summarization, and we even did a little bit of indexing on this summarized table.
Thanks for watching the Hub of Analytics Education video series. The Hub of Analytics Education provides open educational resources to educators around the globe, supporting both higher education and secondary education. For more information, please visit our website at hubae.org.